Well, actually, yeah,
Yeah.
actually, really, it was kind of.
We got coffee now. Anybody would like some coffee?
And we've always. Great fishing spot.
Uh-huh.
Good planning.
And it was most of them here. I did bring. That was president at the time. We stayed at. They could go out. Yeah.
Look for the dollars, wait.
Whatever it was. And part of it was myself and. Yeah, actually, the fifth guy. We would teach the other.
Yeah.
So, Napoleon's. Positions.
Check it on me.
No.
No.
Electronics ready to go? Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to call to order this June 13th meeting of the Bend Landmarks Commission. Roll call of counselors or commissioners. I'm here. Jim?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
Derek?
Yep.
Kathy? Will she be joining us?
No, we have an announcement to make that she is off the commission as an alternate, and Heidi Slaybaugh has been elected by the mayor for taking over the position.
Appointed by
But
the
she
mayor.
is a graduation ceremony. If you not.
Okay, and Heidi cannot make it, so she's absent tonight. Okay, that's great. So
Oh,
we,
I'm sorry, Kathy is maybe late. I'm sorry, I was talking, we were talking about
Terry.
Terry, so Kathy might be a little late.
Oh, okay,
She was up
but
there.
she may join us
She
in.
may join,
Okay, all right.
remotely.
As soon as she does, let me know.
Yep.
And we'll get her on board and everything like that. Okay, and so we've got that and general comments. This is a time when anyone in the public, either online or in the audience, can address the commission on any topic that you would like to, except for a topic that's on the agenda tonight. Is there anyone out there who would like to address the commission? You'll have 5 minutes to speak. Beth, is there anyone online
I
looking?
did not see anybody.
Okay, all right. Okay, then if somebody does come in late online or something like that, just let me know.
I'm watching the virtual door. Oh, there's
Okay.
somebody. Okay, we're good.
Okay, we're good? All righty. Then I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. This is the April 2023 draft minutes. I'm assuming that everybody has had a chance to look them over. Yes. Any questions or comments or corrections for the minutes of April 2023?
I move we approve as presented.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the draft minutes of April 2023. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then those minutes are no longer draft. They are the accepted minutes
Thank you.
of April 2023. Thank you for doing them. All right, that brings us to our first public hearing for tonight. First and only, right?
Mm.
Yep. This is going to be PLHIS 202302292. Our applicant is Jeffrey Warwick, Open Road Design. The location is 137 Northwest Florida Avenue. And the request is a type 3 historic major alteration to add a 2-story addition onto an existing single unit dwelling unit and repair and replace siding, trim, exterior doors, roofing, and the foundation of the existing dwelling unit in the Old Town Historic District. And Beth, you were the staff reviewer of this proposal. Is everybody here tonight? Beth is here.
I'm not-
Okay, you're the owner. All right, and that, all right. So it seems like we're ready to go. I just have to do this preliminary statement for all public meetings. This is a de novo hearing and is an initial evidentiary hearing of PLHIS 202-30292. This is an application, this application is a request for a historic major alteration at 137 Northwest Florida Avenue. The applicant has the burden of proving that he or she is entitled to the approval sought. The applicable criteria of this application include the Bend Urban Area Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 3, and Chapter 10.2 Historic Preservation Code, and the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. The procedures for this hearing will testimony and evidence at this hearing must be directed toward the criteria set forth in the staff report or other criteria in the Bend General Plan or Bend Development Code that you believe is applicable to any other criteria in the National Register of Historic Places program that any person believes apply to this decision. Failure on the part of any person to raise an issue with sufficient specificity to afford the Landmarks Commissioners and parties to this procedure an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the City Council or Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Additionally, failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the Landmarks Commission to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Order of our presentation, the hearing will be conducted in the following order. Staff will give a report. The applicant will then have an opportunity to offer testimony and evidence. Proponents of the application will then be given a chance to testify and present evidence. When all proponents have testified, opponents to the appeal or to the application will then be given a chance to testify and present evidence. After both proponents and opponents have testified, the applicants will be allowed to present rebuttal testimony, but may not present new evidence. At the Landmarks Commission's discretion, if the proponents presented new evidence on rebuttal, opponents may be recognized for rebuttal presentation. At the conclusion of this hearing, the staff will be afforded an opportunity to make any closing comments. The commission may limit the time period for presentation. Continuances before the close of the hearing, any person has the right to request an opportunity to present additional evidence, argument, or testimony regarding the application. If the hearing is continued or the record left open, the applicant shall also be allowed at least 7 days after the record is closed to all other parties to submit final written arguments, but no new evidence in support of the application. Do any of the commissioners have any ex parte contacts, prior hearing observations, biases, or conflicts of interest to declare? None, all righty. Does any party wish to challenge any commissioner based on ex parte contacts, biases, or conflicts of interest? Hearing none. Close of the hearing comments. We will restate the decision and describe the next steps. A final Landmarks Commission decision shall be mailed to the parties of record. Any appeal shall be filed within 12 days of the mailing of the final decision. Okay. Then we will go ahead and open this proceeding with staff report. Beth?
See if I can get this held up. Okay, so this is, well, I'm Beth LaFleur. I'm a senior planner with the city of Bend. This is PLHIS 2023-0292. The subject property is 137 Northwest Florida Avenue, and it is June 20th, 2023. It's a historic, type 3 historic major alteration. For context, the subject property is in the Old Town Historic District on Florida Avenue between Northwest Harriman and Northwest Hill Streets. There's a mix of housing types in this area, and there's a piece of commercial over here on the corner. The existing single-story dwelling is located approximately in the middle of the lot in an approximate L shape. Here. The one-story home has a side-facing gable roof and a 4-inch exposed drop siding, exposed rafter tails, and knee braces. The house has an unusual barrel vault roof porch centered on the main facade, which is recognized as rare in the city of Bend as well as Deschutes County. The windows are primarily 3/1 wood sash double hung, and there's a ribbon of 3 casement windows on the rear elevation. The guest house portion is essentially a smaller version of the primary home and also has a barrel vault entry porch. Overall, the single unit dwelling is recognized as an excellent example of an historic contributing craftsman bungalow, albeit in pretty rough shape. The Google Maps here, Google photos are showing the front elevation of the house. The photo on the left is from July 2021, and I included the photo on the right from April 2012 because it really shows the front facade much better than the more recent photograph. The applicant is requesting an approval to repair and replace materials if necessary, including the siding, trim, exterior doors, and the foundation of the existing dwelling unit. Though replacement materials may be of modern composition, the applicant is proposing to replace existing materials where necessary with replica dimensions and style and retain the architectural qualities for which the structure has been recognized, including the barrel vaulted gables. The applicant is also requesting approval to construct a 2-level addition onto the existing historic dwelling. The addition will be of craftsman architectural style and is located at the rear of the existing dwelling. It will be located on the southwest portion of the current footprint, inset from the west elevation of the existing dwelling by approximately 1 foot. Here's the proposed site plan. The lot is 50 feet wide and 114 feet deep. The dark gray area indicates the location of the proposed addition. Note that the front facade is approximately 34 feet from the front property line. The west facade is approximately 7 feet from the side property line, and the east facade is 1.2 feet from the east property line. The existing rear facade is approximately 40 feet from the rear property line, and with the addition, the building will be approximately 32 feet from the rear property line, and the exterior wall of the addition will be inset behind the existing building, approximately 9.5 feet from the west side property line. Here we have the front and west side elevations. Note how the proposed addition is tucked behind the existing dwelling. The applicant proposes to repair and replace the wood siding, trim, and brickwork, and the barrel vaulted gables will remain. And here we have the south rear elevation and the east side elevation, showing the new aluminum clad wood sash windows and the French doors and low profile skylights on the rear addition or rear elevation. The applicant provided these perspective drawings, which show again the addition tucked behind the primary mass of the building. As detailed in staff recommendation, staff recommends the commission find that the addition and alterations will not change the qualities for which the structure has been recognized, and that the addition and alteration will be compatible with the appearance and character of the historic structure or district. And the third criteria is that the proposal is consistent with the design review criteria of Bend Code 10.20.130, which includes siting, landscaping, building height, building massing, proportion, scale, and exterior features. And these are detailed again in the staff report. But I would like to briefly discuss the building height criterion. The maximum height of structures in the RM zone is 40 feet. The height of the proposed structure from the finished grade to the height of the main roof ridge will be approximately 23.4 feet. The height of the existing structure is 18.2 feet. Therefore, the proposed structure, or the proposed addition, will be approximately 5 feet more in height than the height of the historic building being added onto. However, there are historic 1.5 to 2-story buildings in the surrounding area, which have heights of 24.5 feet, and some perhaps more than that. Also, the proposed addition will be located at the rear southwest corner of the home, tucked behind the primary building massing, and will not impact the front-facing facade. The applicant is very limited as to the location of new square footage on the lot based on the existing footprint of the home. Adding square footage on the front and sides of the home are not viable options due to the impact to the historic architectural details for which the property is recognized, as well as the existing side yard setbacks and the east-west main roof gable orientation. The location of the 2-story addition will retain open space in the rear yard, allow for the preservation of established deciduous trees in the rear yard. It will not require the reworking of the roof lines on the existing dwelling. And due to the inset and 34-foot setback of the home along the Northwest Florida right-of-way, it will be minimally visible from the street. Therefore, along with the details provided in the staff report, staff recommends the Landmark Commission find that the design review criteria of Bend Code 10.20.130 are met. And in conclusion, based on the application materials uploaded into CityView file PL HIS 2023-0292 between May 14th and 2023 and June 12th, 2023, staff recommends the Landmark Commission finds that the application meets the applicable review criteria and approve the proposal to add a two-story addition with skylights onto an existing single-unit dwelling unit and repair and or replace siding, trim, exterior doors, roofing, and the foundation of the existing dwelling unit located at 137 Northwest Florida Avenue, subject to the conditions of approval, which are: 1, the applicant shall submit a standards details checklist to the planning division for review and approval with submittal of any of the building permits for the proposed building changes as required by the building division, and do so prior to any exterior remodeling. And number 2, as required by the building division, the applicant shall obtain all required building permits prior to any construction work.
All right, thank you, Beth. Are there any questions for Beth, for staff? Good. Any questions?
I'm having a hard time understanding the extent of the window replacement on the existing building.
My understanding is that the windows will be repaired as possible and potentially replaced. But perhaps the applicant can give more information on that.
Make sure we talk to the applicant about that window. Let's see. I was uncertain about the chimney.
The chimney is, it's in pretty bad repair,
I
kind
get it
of
there.
crumbling at the top. And there's some chimney supports here on the porch posts that are also needing to be repointed and repaired.
Mhm. So we're gonna repair it, not gonna replace it.
Correct. I mean, like there looks to be some missing bricks at the top of the
Yeah, it
chimney.
does.
So I anticipate that there will be some new brickwork required.
I can go ahead and glass gap. in that, but-
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Go ahead.
we should also ask about spark arrest or other sort of visible features that might be at the top of the chimney.
Any other questions for Beth, for staff? All right, then. Presentation.
You're looking at me? Okay, if it's all right, I'd like to just take a few minutes to introduce myself.
Would you come to the
Yeah.
microphone, please?
Oh,
and
sure.
Name and.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I do have a brief little slideshow for some context, if they're able to connect me, so I can share the screen or however that works.
Enter the meeting.
Yeah, I believe I
Yeah.
did. Let's see.
I'm not seeing,
Okay.
I don't think.
Let's see. You have been invited as a panelist.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Do I have more to do?
You need to be a panelist to show your.
Oh, okay, so I apologize. My screen says Zoom and it says I've been invited, but that's as far as it.
You know what, you can either check your email, and there might be a link in it, or
Oh, it did have me already like, let's see,
or from the agenda, you can join from the agenda as well.
let's see. So
Yeah, go to
I
the
think
agenda,
it's there,
and
and
then,
then this guy, right?
and then,
Okay,
and
and
then register and join.
yeah, and that's where it brought me there.
Should launch the Zoom.
Let me see. See, yeah, I don't see it there, so I'm not sure what we should do. Check your email to find more. Maybe an email came later.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So many
Ways to
questions.
join the webinar. There you
All
go.
right.
And launch.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay, great.
And you just need to.
No, that was on you.
Yes.
That's also muted. Oh,
The microphone. And then go to share screen, should be screen share. There. And then wherever your presentation is, select that
there we go.
and then click share.
All right, everybody, cross fingers. All right. So this is actually, yeah, this is just, I wanted to provide just a little context. So I've been here a few years. I wanted to move to Bend for a long time to be near my family. Yeah, sorry. My name's Jenny. I'm the owner. Jenny Herdval Lovett. I'm the owner of the home. So I moved here to be closer to family, but I have always grown up with my dad's a contractor, and he's always been working on doing rehabilitation and a lot of reuse of materials and preservation of existing buildings. So this was a mixed use building that was built in 1912, and he and his partner renovated it. So it became this. Sorry, that got to go back one. That's what it looks like now. Oh, it's not advancing. Why?
Well, because you weren't sharing desktop, you're sharing just that one piece of software.
Oh, let's see. How do I do that?
Go back to the share. Share your desktop.
Okay, stop share and share.
And that upper left one.
This guy?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you should just click on, yeah.
All right, so this is what it looks like now. And so I wasn't old enough at the time to really be involved other than to actually go and sand some things. But it received a landmark designation in 1986 for the rehabilitation. It's a creative use space now. And then when I was this is what it looked like. I don't want to take up too much time, but there's one, I thought this was a great photo showing this is how it had deteriorated in the 80s, early 80s, and then this is what they did with it. And I'll just get through here. And just mentioning that they also, sought to preserve everything, the original floors as much as possible. And that's really my attitude towards this house, is that if I can, whatever windows I can save, I'll save them. I, unfortunately, the interior floor is beyond, it's pretty beyond rescue. It has some pretty good chunks out of it, as well as a lot of, different flooring that's been on it. But this is the house I lived in for 20 years before I came here. It's an 1890 East Coast shingle. And this was also moved to preserve it. It was going to be demolished. It was moved, and we rehabilitated this. And I don't want to take too much time. I just wanted to give a little context as to I was thrilled to find this beautiful little house. Oh, sorry, this is another one that I worked on too, that was moved from Oakland into Berkeley as well, and preserved, and we were able to keep things like the original floor and these original built-ins in it. And this guy is just about to get worked on. So this is not required to be preserved. It's built around the 40s. But we think it's a beautiful structure. It's an abandoned barn. It's in Arcata. And when I say we, it's me with my dad's advice at this point. And then for this project, I was thrilled to get help from Jeff, because he has a lot of experience in the area. When he met me, he clearly understood where we have a shared vision of where to go with this. And so we're hoping we can answer all your questions and that you like what we're doing.
Questions? I've got a couple quick ones. for you.
Yeah.
The foundation, I didn't see any photos of the existing foundation in our packet? Do you have any?
I do probably from the home inspection report, although I probably don't want to dig through my desk, like files with you guys on here, but I'm happy to, either provide them a little bit later into the meeting. I can look for them while Jeff's presenting or
Jeff.
he's primarily presenting.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
well, Then we'll talk.
Okay,
last
yeah.
chance. Thank you very much.
sure.
Okay. No questions, okay, then Jeff, come on up. Mr. Warwick?
I'm Jeff Warwick with Open Road Design and been the designer on the project. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, well, I'll go back to my foundation one. Have
Yeah.
you seen any photos on the existing foundation? Is it that typical lava rock kind of foundation? that
Oh,
you
yeah,
find in the-
yeah, and it's about 6 inches at most out of the dirt, and the supporting floor system is about 8 inches.
Yeah. And you're
Very
gonna-
typical of the older homes.
So
yeah.
you're gonna jack the whole thing up, pull all
The-
that out,
yep.
and then go to a cinder block or?
We'd like to go to a traditional concrete stem wall, and still our goal is to have it not any higher or lower than where it currently is. But our main goal is to go to code, but I think it won't adjust that much because it already is about 6 to 8 inches above grade, so we should be okay with that.
Have you thought about putting in the faux rock on the foundation?
Oh, you mean after we put in the,
That you got it in, yeah.
have not, no.
So that it matches what is currently there.
Yeah, I didn't really feel that there's enough rock exposed to do that, and I don't know if faux rock would look close enough to what it
Okay.
is.
Okay,
Um,
that's why I asked, because
yeah.
I didn't see any photos of them.
We'd be happy to do something like that if it's required to
Mhm.
have that,
Mhm.
but I'd have to look at the product to make sure it looked right.
Right.
The code actually said it's not required.
No, it's not.
It'd be a nice touch though, if it looked right.
It would be nice,
Yeah,
but
I agreed.
you have to, for that distance.
Yeah.
You seem like you're trying to want to do things. Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess the question about the foundation is, the motivation to replace it is due to its elevation relative to grade rather than any deterioration that
Oh,
has been.
no, the byproduct would be that we would have it to code, but it's absolutely deteriorating. We had a structural engineer out there and he tried to get under there as far as he could, but you can't really. And he took some pictures for his own personal files and he said that it's unsalvageable. And that his recommendation is to lift it, dig out a real foundation and or stem wall.
Mhm.
And I concur with that.
Okay.
Can you tell us who the structural
That
engineer?
was LB Engineering, Lenny Brandt.
Has that report been submitted as part of the?
No,
Packet.
it has not been reported. I didn't feel the need since it was clearly needing repair.
Mhm, mhm, okay, all right.
But we could have something rid up after
Yeah, if
if
you-
required.
I would like to see that.
Sure.
I have that on record. The chimney, the repair up at the top of it. Yeah, it looked, from what I saw from the photos, it's pretty rugged. It's in bad shape. So you're gonna tuck point it and
Absolutely. We're going to try to salvage everything
Mhm.
as much as we can, including the chimney.
Mhm.
We will try to get that to the exact same shape it was.
Mhm.
And we'll try to have a spark arrestor that's not visible.
Okay.
Because it never had one that was visible.
Well, it would be nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially here.
Yes, absolutely. We got a lot of trees and other wood sidings, so yeah, spark arrestor would be important. Mhm.
Okay, good. And my other question was siding. Approximately how much siding are you going to be able to use? Are you going to go ahead and try to match that?
Well, yeah, so my concern is that since there's no structural sheathing on this and it's just 2x4s with siding on it. That just removing the siding might make it unsalvageable.
Mhm,
There's a lot of siding there that looks okay,
mhm.
but upon closer inspection, once we pull that off it.
Manageable.
No, and I'm also worried that since there isn't an exact profile to match that, the profile that I show in there, the 105, is very, very close.
Yeah,
But up against the existing, you would probably notice a difference, and I'd rather not celebrate the difference between those two things. So if I have a feeling we're probably gonna have to replace all the siding. And then the east side elevation will need to be fire rated. So that's all coming off for sure.
Okay.
Anyway,
Distance to the property line?
yeah, it's about 1'8". So we're gonna have to fire rate that.
And the new siding will be shiplap and
Yeah, it's gonna be matching in profile.
there, oh, there it is. Thank you.
Was that eastern kind of wing of the building original, or was it added?
It was about 2 or 3 years later after the existing house. And so when they added that on, they just tried to do a little miniature barrel vault and shape and just threw it on the side. And I think back in those days, some of those property lines were a little cowboyed up. So they just put them up and probably high-five the neighbor.
I thought I read where you were going to save all of the trees on the property.
Yes, yeah, that is absolutely the goal, especially the ones in the rear.
Any other questions?
So have you identified windows on the existing structure that have been identified for replacement? I don't think I see a window schedule.
No, because our ultimate goal is that every existing window that we can will rebuild and rehabilitate and use. So that's our goal. We are gonna have the general contractor who's Linneus, Grant Hansen, he's gonna go through there with his craftsmen and see what they can do about replacing those. He has experience with replacing those and rehabilitating as needed. But our ultimate goal is to rehabilitate all of them.
And they're all considered historic. None of them have been replaced to your
Yeah,
knowledge.
some have been replaced. I have a feeling the window that is facing the west on the added guest building was replaced at some time, right?
Are you talking about the single hung or this?
The one on yeah, right off your kitchen. It looked like that one might have been replaced fairly recently within the last.
Yes, there is one,
there
is one, yeah,
And
but it's on a wall that will
be removed.
not exist anymore if this application. is approved.
Right, so we weren't too concerned about that one, but all the other ones do seem historic. In fact, there is one window on the rear that was boarded up, and I think it probably busted out a while ago, and somebody just boarded it up, and we're
It
gonna,
has a painting in it.
it has a painting in it, yeah. And our goal is to get a window in there of the same shape and matching the profile.
I mean, I'm assuming that was a fixed window, given.
It's shape, yeah.
So is the property vacant right now?
I live in,
Oh, you live in it, okay,
and the floor does it.
right.
And on the roof, we are wanting to replace the whole roof of the existing, but keep the exact same shape, pitch and everything. It is falling apart throughout the years. They've done a few mitigating factors to try to keep it up, but it's falling apart. And they're resting on walls that are not bearing. So we're gonna try to get that fixed into a safe structure.
And shingles?
It is currently shingles, yeah.
So you show some of these windows as casement, like swinging outward. They'd be too old to have the sort of crank, but are they just sort of swinging on a hinge? And-
Yeah,
and
I think the ones just have a lock and then you just push it Is-
They
yeah.
just swing
and then
completely out.
you just pull it
they're all,
back in.
they're all outward swing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then besides that, you have some picture windows and they're probably single hung from that era.
Yes, yeah, they are single hung, yeah,
The ones on the front are fixed,
but the ones on the front are fixed, yeah.
that face the front,
Oh, I see. Thank you.
the 3/1. I think that's-
Which was surprising to me, but yeah, they're not even just painted shut, they like typical, they are just fixed,
They're fixed windows.
fixed windows, yeah.
Almost as if it was anticipating air conditioning.
Oh, sure.
When you were talking about the fire resistant wall, you really just mean the extreme east
Yes,
wall. So that's really a subset of the east elevation. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Just 5/8 rock on the
Mhm.
sheathing and then siding over that.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
Maybe use a dense glass or something like that for the water.
Do you have any issues with the window on that, where it is a fire rated wall? When you're adjacent to property line, do you need to do anything specific to that window?
Traditionally, if it was new construction, it would have to be a fire rated window. I'm leaving it up to the board to let us know if that needs to be, because it'll be very hard to get something that's historic looking and fire rated. So it would be up to the city of Bend Building
Fire
Department.
curtain that-
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And the code does support the fact that you're not making it worse, it was always there.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave that up to your decision on
And
that.
again, that was the side.
Yeah.
Up against that.
that's
property
it,
line.
one
Yeah,
window
it's
there.
1'9" from the property line.
All right. Mhm. Yeah, that is close to the property.
Mm,
Would you expect the chimney needs to be braced while you jack the foundation?
Yeah, it will probably need to be, it's gonna be inspected first to see if it can handle any type of movement at all. And then that'll be decided by the company that's being hired to lift and the structural engineer that's involved in that. So yeah, we are anticipating that. It would probably need to be braced, considering its condition.
And
Any
then-
other bracing expected, like, I don't know if the
Yeah, there's gonna be some concern with the lift, mostly on the barrel vaults and the supporting structures to do so. That'll all be braced to maintain what it's got currently. Although the brick isn't as bad as the chimney is, it's still old and we'd like to not damage it any further.
Oftentimes when we lift buildings up, the windows go cockeyed, shatter, crack, break apart.
Yeah,
You anticipate a lot of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do, and I hate, I'm not very good at pulling punches. I do anticipate some of that happening. And I have discussed that with the engineer and we're gonna do everything we can to do that. He's suggesting that around those windows, remove the siding that we have to remove anyway. And brace, like almost do a shear wall around those windows to keep it from racking. And that should eliminate a lot of that, he said.
Sure.
Yeah, but- You know, I've seen lifted houses before.
You're indicating that, Jenny, that the floor is just a little bit crooked.
It's
situation.
about like from the rear of the house, I would say it's about this low on the interior. I have mouse friends.
Yeah,
In that you're lifting it, you're going to be correcting that. One of the things you're going to be looking at as you lift, you're going to be racking things back to right, basically. If you brace it in its position as it sits, you're going to be reinforcing the negative floor.
Yeah.
So
that was brought up by the engineer and he's gonna be working with the lifting company to make sure that doesn't happen. It's gonna be I'm excited to see it lifted, to see how that works. But, yeah, they are anticipating issues like that.
apologize, you may have said this earlier, is the foundation, the floor level going to change after you install a new foundation?
If it does, it's gonna be very minimal. Our
Okay.
goal is to keep it exactly at where it's at, provided that we're still code compliant with the 6 to 8 inches to grade.
If you run into windows that cannot be rehabilitated, what's the plan for the new? windows?
Replacement, and we'd like to use the Pella, is it the Lifestyle?
Yeah,
Yeah,
lifestyle.
yeah, Lifestyle, which seems to be a very close replica.
So that'll be the addition and any new windows required for the.
Exactly, yeah.
And those will be the same windows in the addition?
Yes,
Same.
yeah.
I had actually spoken to Beth. I wondered if the 3 windows in a row that would be eliminated the back, if we could use them up above where we are replicating them, but she said probably not for energy or a new
Yeah.
code or something like that. Yeah, but we're gonna make them look the same.
These are all crank casement windows proposed on the new.
In the
addition.
new edition, yeah.
So that there's a I guess a muntin, it's a 1/1
I think that's where the bathroom is.
Mhm.
well, I mean, I guess they're all, pretty much all the windows have like
A horizontal.
have a horizontal muntin.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have a selection or if Pella has, I think most of those companies have like a few options of like simulated divided lights and
Yeah. And the profiles?
yeah, like I think historically we've probably only accepted, not accepted anything that where it was just inside,
Yeah,
only inside the glass. But something that had a profile outside of,
that would be our goal as well,
yeah,
is that we don't want it to look like a single pane with a STL on the inside.
yeah.
And that's actually the meeting rail on those windows. So the meeting rail would be 1.125 wide.
Mhm.
Its profile,
Okay.
so it has some meat to it,
Yeah,
which is for the visual that would match then the 1 overs and the 3 overs.
yeah.
Yeah. We talk about the height of the addition. So your justification comes from, there were a few other property addresses that there's just kind of all these addresses of
Yeah.
in the staff report and in the and in your narrative.
Mhm.
Looking at the the 10.20.130 of the preservation code, section C. Item 1, it says, in addition to the zoning requirements, the height of new additions and new construction shall not exceed the height of the historic building being added onto or of historic buildings in the surrounding area. Could you say like what's your strongest 1 or 2 precedents for this building height exceeding the existing building height?
As far as addresses? for
Yeah,
precedent?
yeah, in historic
Yeah.
height, not like recently or
Sure.
approved or
I'm not sure if it's relevant, it's single story, but the house next to me is taller. And and from what I can tell from the outside, it's used as, they live in the upper floor, but it appears to be a single story house, but they use the attic. That one is 130. Can't remember if it's the yellow one that's not on the corner. I forget which the address is, it's either 135 or 139, since I'm 137.
so it's just directly to the west of your,
Yes. No, it's to the east. It's the
Oh,
one
to
that
the
I'm
east.
close to. So that's
I see,
taller
I
than
see,
I
yeah.
am existing right now.
So the address I'm using, 2 addresses I'm using is 225 Northwest Hunter, which is the first one in my, on my narrative. Which was approved by the Historic Commission, I think in 2012. Which shows a clear addition in the back that is right above the front facade.
the historic original structure and non-historic addition. You're saying that the addition was approved in 2012 by the Landmarks Commission? Okay. Did you have another one or?
Yeah, and then the other one I was using was 250 Georgia Avenue, which is the same idea.
Just a quick guess, how many homes in the area are 24 feet or more?
It's a tough question.
There are.
There's a lot.
I've been there for a little bit, so, there's a 2-story over at like 223, Northwest Florida, and then across the street from that, on the corner of Harriman and Northwest Florida is another 2-story. I can't swear they're more than 24 feet, but I'm guessing given
Yeah,
that,
they're
and
2
then
stories.
on the other side of Northwest Florida from the 227, I think it is another one, which my understanding of that one, that's a 2-story where they, there's an ADU behind it, and I think that was pretty recent. The original home had been removed. The ADU remained, and then they were allowed to rebuild the home as the primary because it had been there before. That one's tall. There's one on Harriman, 1 block towards Arizona, that has 2 stories. That's right behind me. I share the alley with that one. And on Hill in Northwest Florida, I think there's another 2-story.
Yeah. I'd like to also point out in my narrative showing the image of 225 Northwest Hunter. From the front facade, it's clear that it is higher. And dominates that front facade. And when we were designing this, our goal, as you can
Oh
see.
yeah, I forgot the one right, that one right there is.
Yeah, it's straight up.
About that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's right across the street.
Yeah.
Is our goal was that, you know, when you look straight on the elevations in our plans, like typical blueprint style, it definitely shows 5 feet taller. But in the perspectives I've provided, the way that we oriented it and set it back from the house, you were standing in the street, it'd be very minimal roof exposure, as you could see in my perspectives. And that was really the goal that we had, was to have that set back, not dominate in any way. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we did step that about foot off of that west elevation, was that we wanted to really emphasize the historic shape and massing of the original house while separating it from it as well.
Maybe sort of a rendering question, but like, are the perspectives taken at like an eye level?
Yeah.
They are.
So the perspectives I took right there, it is about, I did them about 7 feet, I think, from. Yeah, a tall individual, just in case you're in a diesel truck. I don't know. But from the middle, about the middle of the street, which would be a worst case scenario. So.
Is this, we don't have any floor plans in it, but is this gonna be used as just additional square footage on the main dwelling, or is it gonna be an ADU?
No, it's just for her. It's just additional square footage. Yeah.
Okay.
The parking is rough there. ADUs would be hard to do.
No
But people are doing them
parking
everywhere.
requirements.
Yeah, I know, I saw that. Which is, I thought was great. And then I thought about all the parking that's gonna be in the streets now.
Any other questions? None? Commissioners? All right, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Dan, any final follow-up comment that you'd like to make? Okay.
Well, I have one more question for the applicant.
Oh, go ahead.
Is the existing shed historic? Do you plan to do anything with it?
I wasn't planning to do anything with it. I don't think it looks like, it doesn't look terrible, but it's not historic. It's also not really on like a real foundation. I haven't really looked into it, but I think it might be just kind of supported on the corners or something. And I wasn't planning to do any, I was planning to leave it there. But you know,
Okay.
I'm amenable if that's, if that can be.
Okay. All right. Nothing? All right. Then it's hearing is closed. Comments from commissioners?
There was no public comment anywhere.
Absolutely nothing,
Nothing.
no phone calls, nothing written.
No one on mine.
I
Nothing
did, I
submitted,
did
right?
mail some of my neighbors to the ones who were closest and across the alley and didn't get any response.
I do have one concern just about the massing,
Mhm.
particularly on the south elevation of the house. I mean, and part of the code talks about view from public spaces. The alleyway is a public space. And that south elevation is presented, you know, looks pretty stark. You know, it would be nice to see, and particularly because just the proportion of width to height of the structure, it makes it actually look taller than it probably is. And it would be nice to see it, that something done to break that facade up. You know, a covered porch, something, you know, I mean, continue, you know, the angle of the shed roof over the top, something to break up that.
You discovered the one crack between us. He's saying like a porch back there. So,
I'm a landscape architect. I look from the outside in. And, you know, it's those public spaces. Right now, it didn't look like the alley is a particularly pleasantly activated space. But as,
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Yeah. but as this neighborhood evolves, the hope is it becomes a pleasantly activated space. So, and I think doing something to break up that, my first reaction when I looked at it was, it's a silo.
I guess can you get off
the-
Yeah, sorry, I can see what you're saying. The only one
Yeah.
thing, oh, sorry.
And I
Okay.
just present that as a comment for deliberation.
As presented. Without design by. committee, definitely. I see your point about the basically the height to thickness ratio, but I also see that the presentation side is still by code, Florida, not the alley. The height. We keep losing the historic to historic non-contributing with the additions that are pointed out as the examples. And it just seems to keep snowballing on itself that these guys got to do it and these guys got to do it. And the density model for down in that area is such that I don't know how you put a stopper in it. I think it's a very sympathetic addition to the structure. The only thing I would point to and to think about, the front 3/1s on the existing structure seem to be the real character with the barrel vault. And saving, you know, looking at making sure that those are not replaced. They are such an integral part to that facade. That would be my concern more than anything else at this point. The siding, it's a good replacement. It's a good profile, and it does fit fits the district, it fits the time period. It's basically all over the place down there. And you're not gonna save a stick off that building. It's just with the movement, with the deterioration. You know, saving 3 6-foot pieces and not having profiles match is stuff. So. Just thoughts to throw out to foster conversation. Okay.
Comments, Don? Perceptions?
Well, first of all, I think it's a really neat house. I'm glad to see it being preserved. In general, I think the addition complements the house pretty well, especially the window placement and dimensions. And it seems like a thoughtful way to add square footage to the site without compromising the view from the street. I do appreciate Jim's comments about the view from the alley. I'm not sure how much weight we want to put on that side of the building, but
Yeah, I think that's an argument for the board later on. And our alleyways, I mean, the code says public space. And the plat map shows the alleyway as, you know, part of public space. So I guess it's, you know, how much do we want to weigh on that?
Do we wait until the city paves all the alleys to say now they are to be considered a facade to be walked down? That's a tough one.
And that's out of our hands when the
Yeah.
city pays that alley.
One other thing, you brought up the idea of lava veneer. When you have a 6-inch exposed.
Mhm.
Number one, the veneer itself would be very chunky along through. And the offset for the veneer, so that the veneer then is lined up to the exterior line of your building. It's, at 6 inches, you're gonna have ground cover plants more than lava. I would. My instinct would be that would be not the foundation to do that on.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah, okay.
I would agree with there, I mean, again, grass, if you let it grow, is going to cover. And I recommend mowing at 3 inches, conserve water, you're gonna cover half the foundation at that point, plus other landscape that may occur in that area.
Any comments?
Yeah, I think it's warranted that the foundation's replaced, assuming this engineering report is, is accurate and exists. Doesn't seem worthwhile to try to save a lava rock foundation when it's really not the architectural part of this home that is significant. I think every care should be taken to preserve the front facade, including the front windows. I can understand that the door is in poor condition and needs replacement. Did we have a door submission too?
Yeah, there was a cut sheet in the
Okay, I'm sorry.
project.
It's hard to know what these files are. Not Pella Lifestyle.
That was the window.
It should be in the same part of the submission, the cut sheet for the windows and the door.
Oh, in the Pella.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's the Pella fiberglass entry door.
Yeah, I looked through the various vendors that I had understood to have been approved in historic before, and I couldn't find anybody that provided a wood or a clad wood door in a style that fits with this house. So that's why we submitted the fiberglass.
Am I allowed to ask a question of the architect?
Yeah, sure, of course you can.
You could pose a hypothetical during discussion and he could nod.
Is the door width currently 36 inches?
I believe so.
It is, okay.
well,
I mean, I think that there's probably wood doors to be had if, I mean, I went through this whole process myself, in 2017, 2018. I think the original material is probably worthwhile and I don't think you really have to compromise on much. So I would probably posit that as a condition of approval.
Okay. That the front door be,
rather than fiber.
You're the fenestration guy.
You saying I'm holy?
You're very open.
The idea, yeah, there are a number of companies in town that I haven't custom built any time in the recent decade, but there are quite a few wooden doors in the area. So is a salvage front door that pops up from time to time, but yeah, as a condition, that would be something we'd have to look at and have it be approved by staff and return.
There's two
I
front,
have no pushback. If I can find a wood door, I'd rather
Okay.
do that.
and there's two front doors, really.
Mhm.
So is it fair to assume that we're replacing both front doors?
The other one is, I think it came with the house. I don't know, what do you think? I think it's maybe an original door. The small, yeah. So we would just rehab it.
Okay, okay. We'll probably make that a condition of the approval just to, since it's not. I don't see I don't see it like called out specifically, so we'll probably just make it a.
All right, are we ready to make a motion and add conditions of approval then?
Working on it.
Well, just one more comment.
Okay.
Again, more for discussion, again, from the landscape architecture point of view is stormwater. Code requires that all stormwater stay on property. It looks fairly flat, the site, but, you've increased the roof coverage quite a bit. I think when I looked, I did quick calculations, about 30% of the lot now is impervious surface. And I didn't include walks or porches. There, there could be at times a lot of water coming off those roofs in various angles and directions. I think the application said you're gonna keep existing landscape pretty much as it is, which is some turf in areas and shrubs in the others. It's just, something I have worked in other jurisdictions where code in the future, code limited lot coverage. Particularly because these is in historic districts, because the districts were going through extensive renovations with additions where lot coverage increased more and more. And that might just be something for future consideration and, conversations with council. But always when I look at, historic houses, I mean, in particularly in neighborhoods without gutters and without some sort of management of the stormwater that comes off those. This neighborhood is fairly fortunate in that it's fairly flat, which means hopefully if your soils are porous enough, you'll get infiltration rather than flooding. But it's also something to watch in terms of slopes away from footings and foundations. Drains fail and get clogged. I just add that for future consideration. Otherwise, I agree with the points that have been made. And
Yeah,
recommended.
I would feel strongly that gutters should not be added to the front facade. There'll be some parts of this rear roof that will be taking a lot of water coming off of it, with the roof area. They're not proposing any gutters in this application, which is only the pertinent fact.
It just, again, I probably should have brought it up during deliberation with the applicant, but consideration in the landscape of, some sort of capture and retention in your landscape. That, can still use historic native materials.
Yeah. In my experience, planning will really make them do that in the like normal planning approval process.
I can take a crack at it if we're ready, or
Anybody want to take a stab at a motion?
all right, let's see. I propose that we approve as presented with the following addendum. One, conditions as written in the staff report to stand. Two, that the primary front door to be replaced with a wood door and can be approved by staff following the cut sheet being found. The front facade on the primary facade, the 3/1 windows to be reworked, restored, and saved, not replaced. And given that they're undercover, they should be some of the better. And attention should be given to the stormwater retention.
Okay, and attention given to stormwater.
Yes.
Let me see if I've got this straight. The motion was for approval with staff, the two conditions that we read from staff. That an engineer report on the foundation be submitted to staff. That the front doors or door?
Door.
One door.
Yep.
That main front door.
Yep.
Become a wood. And as soon as you find something, then it gets brought up to staff for approval. And that the 3/1 windows on the front facade be reworked, restored, rather than replaced. And then finally, attention given to stormwater retention. Do I hear a second?
I will second that. You gave me the nod to stormwater.
Okay, it has been moved and
course, Chair.
seconded. Any other additional conditions then would have to go through Derek as a friendly amendment to the motion? No? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposal. Oh, what is that number? I missed it. Oh, PLHIS 202-30292 with the conditions of that were included in the staff report. And then the engineer report, existing engineer report on the foundation be submitted to staff. That the front door be submitted in the project, be replaced by a wood door with the approval of staff. The 3/1 windows on the front facade be reworked, restored rather than replaced, and attention given to stormwater retention. Okay, did I get it?
Yep.
Beth, we got it?
Got it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Motion carries. Just my thoughts, just a real quick comment. I think that this is probably going to turn out to be a pretty nice looking, rebuild of the house. And I appreciate your experience with renovation and with historic, buildings. And actually, I'm kind of looking forward to take a look at it when you're done. And you have a lot of work ahead of you.
But this scary part was over. Thank you.
Wow, we're not that scary.
Not now.
Not now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great time.
Good luck. All right, where am I at? Number 6 in our agenda, communications update on state historic. Preservation grant. Heidi, you're on.
Thank you. Beth and I have been working on the grant that we were awarded this year. And we've been kind of scoping around and talking to different cities that have programs. I have communicated, emailed, and talked to 2 companies, both over on the east side of the mountains, and that would be amenable to working on a project. So I've gotten a better handle on what the grant can produce. First of all, I'd like to say that Heidi Slaybaugh is coming back as an alternate member, so she'll be here. She's couldn't be here tonight because of graduation, but so just want to make that announcement. The one thing that I'm going to have uploaded tomorrow is the restoration grant that we've had several successful cycles of people that will be available. So that'll be up if you could spread the word, if you hear anybody, and I'm in the middle of getting the word out. the PR department and museum. So that hopefully we can find somebody else to take advantage of that.
Good.
And then, I have two firms that might looking at an audit of our code and maybe giving us some ideas. The amount of money, that we do have for the grant is not a ton. So Beth and I were talking about it, you know, if I can concoct a realistic project where maybe we, hire one of the two firms to kind of do an audit and get some suggestions on some of our, stickiest points. I've gotten some feedback from Jim and Jerry, and I've been taking notes from several of our meetings and even past meetings, and I thought I could give them this is kind of the sticking points that we have, and maybe give some suggestions and some ideas. The one company I talked to said they would like to come twice to the commission first to kind of read the tea leaves, see what everybody's, interested in, and then do some research and make some suggestions. Both of them have experience with other agencies and cities. Okay, so, it makes some suggestions that still within the parameters of the certified local government standards and rules that are required by the state. And so that's as far as I've gotten so far. So if you can think of anything else, that's what I'm doing now. So the amount of money will, I think, get us some time with an agency or a private firm, some ideas and suggestions. And then we were visualizing that maybe we go from there with a couple of work sessions and then do the whole PR public part of it, in-house, basically. Use these firms and the little bit of money that we do have to kind of say, well, so-and-so does it this way, so-and-so does it that way, that kind of thing. So we just have some ammunition and some background to kind of start the public process.
I think one of the issues that came up tonight in this, with this project is the issue of roof height. The code does say that the addition can't be any higher than the original structure, and yet throughout the past, we have approved that. Maybe there's some verbiage somewhere out there that we can take a look at that part of our code, and probably gonna have to look for more flexibility in that. Since the horse is already out of the barn on that.
Okay, yeah, so that was where I thought, we could try to get most bang for our buck with the grant dollars and stuff. These are the 5 language issues that we have with the code.
Yeah.
These are the 10, and so these are the problems that we have. What do you suggest, or what kinds of feedback do you have, ideas?
Good.
And then the other thing was,
Any other issues that you'd like to present?
if you could get.
That you haven't already sent to her, okay?
I haven't
Right,
sent anything
that
yet.
was good. So if you get the ball going with that. That was what I'm hoping is to get a realistic project together and then hire one of the firms to help us.
What time frame do you see?
We need to have, in the next year, we need to start now.
Yes.
And then, be able to, the grant goes until next August. So,
August the 24th.
uh-huh.
Okay, all right, so we'll.
We need to ask some, that's why, if we can concoct a project and then they can agree to work on it, and then come to a meeting and then go away and be able to work on it for how long.
Okay.
This is good, plenty of time. We have
Yeah.
everything wrapped up with the bow by next August.
Let's get ratified by council.
Well, so we can, for the grant money, we could get funds, spent that they would give us, something in writing.
Yeah.
And then we could, as soon as we have that, we could start the public process. Then notifying the surrounding property owners, affected property owners, and doing that. But yeah, I think for the grant process, we would just need them to be able to come to a meeting, hear you out, hear us out, and have a parameter of a project, and then be able to come back and present and say, well, we have these ideas and suggestions, and, did you think about this? So that's part of it. And then after that, I think we could start the public process where we would have some work sessions and do the public notice that's required by the members and the owners of the districts and the properties. To start with, and then it would go to the city council. Correct.
And remembering that these would be suggestions and recommendations to the council.
Correct,
only.
yeah, and then they would,
And then council can say, all right, man. Decided we don't-
I say we start with demands. We backtrack a little bit.
and the other thing is.
So we take a hostage.
And
The other thing is it still helpful to have paper copies of everything? at the meeting?
Oh, yeah, it
Okay.
does.
That's okay.
I-
We just
yeah,
want to make sure.
I appreciate it and,
Okay.
my, my iPad still just does not want to
Okay.
talk to everything around in here and that. And I can get it to work, but not with the speed of finding
That's fine.
something.
I just want to make sure. Yeah, do you have anything? else to add?
Just that I have to have we have to have the staff reports ready 7 days in advance. So if you, 7 days in advance of the meeting, if you're thinking, gosh, I really want to read through this material in the next couple of days, hard copy, just give us a call and we can print stuff out and you can pick it up, days ahead of the meeting.
Thank you. All right, thank you. We appreciate all the work that you do.
Yeah.
And, and on this proposal tonight, done really straightforward. Thank you very much. It makes it a lot easier when we can see, the plans and we can take a look at pictures and that. Those kind of
That's all I have. Thank you.
things. Okay?
One question, just as a big thing. As this house, the proposal tonight, it was a historic contributing. With the addition, it will be historic non-contributing because of the alteration. What's our ratio? Where are we at in the Old Town District at this point? The time from when I was on commission and then off and then on, I see a lot of pictures in the reports and the proposals that in the past, you had to find historic examples, not anything else. I was just wondering, how difficult is it on a map to actually look at what has been altered in the last, what do we got, 22 years, 20 years? Jeez. What's been altered and what's our ratio? And not tomorrow,
Yeah.
it was a big picture kind of question.
We could probably stick our GIS people on it. They love getting into that kind of reporting and
Oh, cool.
filtering and.
With building permits?
building
Yeah,
permits
I
probably.
mean, if you look at it, just, we're here to preserve the district and we, one stone at a time, let it slip to a point where there's very few contributing left. But the argument when the district was made was there's
Why
not
would
enough
this-
contributing, so why are we doing that?
Why would this be no longer contributing?
The alteration doesn't fit the national standards. In the case of the roofs that are too higher than the existing structure, a lot of the different things that have occurred over the last 20 years does take that, if somebody looked at it now to evaluate it for historic, contributing or non-contributing, to be non-contributing.
But you could take that addition away tomorrow.
So on some of them, yeah, on some of them. But I was thinking about it this morning and I don't have a good filter, so.
Yeah, we could look into that. It's a tough one. This one is, it's really rough shape and.
Oh, no, I think that,
But also just looking like, and it's tiny, like,
Mhm.
and the orientation, like, how could somebody add square footage without completely muddling up the existing historic roof line and, extruding out the back in a single story, I think. I don't think that'd be any better.
I think the
necessarily than it-
potential for this project for it, were it to go back to historic contributing and being chopped off. A very good example where it could be done that way. Some of the additions, some of the upper stories, some of those, there's no way, but. I was just curious, like I said, I was just thinking about it, thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, no, I think, as my letter to Heidi, I struggle with the contributing, non-contributing issue all the time and what we do with non-contributing, what's the goal there? Is it to make non-contributing contributing?
No, because we're
You
not gonna
can't.
falsely
Yeah,
assert that.
so,
So,
yeah, and it may be something for the consultants to, bring up, look at in the code. Is an addition that changes the status of a historic feature allowed?
yes.
We have certainly done that in the
Yes.
past.
But I mean, is that something that we would like to see changed? If the goal of the commission and the historic district is to preserve the history of the district, but little by little, the historic structures become something else, are we doing justice to the code?
Well, I
A long
think-
time,
I-
lots of changes.
Yeah, I think that's been one of our dilemmas and one of our problems is that, again, pointed out with the height of that building, that addition, okay, and we haven't been following one of your predecessors, Robin Boris, said, look, on that, and just went, we're not following the code at all. And so that's what started some of this ball rolling. How much are we following the code? Do we want to all of a sudden, with our next proposal, look at the code and strictly interpret and word for word? And then the next person who comes in and runs into that buzzsaw goes, huh? But you let it happen over here, you let it happen over there. Or do we want to take a look at the code and try to bring it to verbiage that matches what we have been doing? That's a dilemma. I mean, that's something that we'll need to decide before we make any recommendations to the city council.
Well, I think it's curious that is really the only criteria in the code that has the word shall in it. All the others say that it must be compatible, articulated in such a manner. So that gives that wiggle room to.
Compatibility with the surrounding area.
Right.
And so that's why we
Right.
keep asking the question, well, how high are the other buildings in the area? Well, they're all 23.5 feet, 24 feet.
Right.
There's, this one over there, that one, and so.
Yeah.
How much do we want to, the question before us is how much do we want to continue to leave try to keep the district as it looked in 1905 or whatever, 1920.
1909.
Is that was your house, 1909?
No, mine was 12, but
12,
1909 was city event, so.
Oh, okay, anyway, and then how much do we want to take a look at preserving an overall character? And allowing, people to live modern lives and not the lives of 23. And not necessarily the lives of 1923.
We're also,
You know,
we're
and that's,
also up
and
against.
that's the question before us every time we meet.
We're up against land values, we're up against density models, we're up against so many different things. We're trying to preserve a quaint neighborhood. Is it still quaint?
This is where I think having some assistance for somebody that, can give us some ideas.
Love to hear from someone who's gone through this process and get some examples or some anecdotes of what they've done and how city councils have dealt with this issue. And right now, and then the problem of homelessness. How does the historic district contribute to the problem of homelessness, and how does it help solve the problem of homelessness?
Yeah, I think certainly historic districts are sort of in the crosshairs of the pro-housing movement because they have been used kind of disingenuously over the years to prevent, dense housing from being part of city cores and then there's the energy thing. And I think that if we can go through this process and listen to some experts, we can help with, on the advice of council, balance some of those competing agendas and put them into some, no nonsense modifications to this code that that would balance those priorities, but be more clear for applicants so they don't come and spend all this money on an architect and give us something that we have to reject.
And that's the ultimate goal.
Other comments?
Commissioners? I'm just thinking, it'd be interesting if there's a consultant involved for them to provide perspective from cities that have a similar kind of historic district, meaning a lot of small one-story buildings. I think it's somewhat unique. A lot of historic districts in the country have much larger homes in them where a two-story addition wouldn't be so controversial.
Right.
But I think then, there's an expectation that you can have a two-story addition to your house, but it may not be compatible with these small houses that we have. So
Well, I mean, example, Lake Oswego. I lived in Lake Oswego, not in the historic district, but they had the first edition. I mean, it was a working, town, mills and they struggled with some of the same issues where in the first edition in the original historic districts, people were wanting to expand their homes and add on. And it did cause them to look at many different things in their code. And I brought up the one thing they looked at was just percentage of lot coverage for stormwater, because it's on the other side of the
Right.
mountains, a lot more rain,
Yeah.
heavy clay soils.
Yeah.
And so they looked at, lot coverage and restricting that, which would go to a certain extent to restricting the size of some of the additions that we see on these narrow, small, because they are narrow and small lots.
Yeah.
The mill workers homes.
Yeah.
you could also push more two-story additions, though, if it's limiting lot coverage. It might force you into more vertical.
Well, I think if you couple lot coverage with the height restrictions, you start to, it's an accordion.
Yeah.
You can do
And
nothing and
we
do
would
one.
wind up with some very angry proponents. No, that doesn't match this part of the rubric. What do you mean? 4 years ago, you allowed that to happen over here. Okay, Heidi, would it be possible to get a rough timeline
So,
in front of us?
it's going to depend on, how quickly I can put kind of a grammar together in a pocket. So I'm hoping in the next month or two to really make a deal.
Okay, super. And then we will have some work sessions
Yeah.
and,
The company.
okay, super. Good to the order, anything? Report to commission, to staff, the council? Councilman Riley, you're welcome anytime that you wish to sit in, and I want to thank you for coming in tonight. I'm assuming you're our liaison to. I am your new liaison. You couldn't dodge that one, huh? Yeah. You'll have to thank the mayor for assigning it to you. Yeah, one of these days, okay. All right, then, I will entertain a motion to close.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Yep.
Aye.